parcels of land belonging to small lot owners are exempted. And so, there are so many things, Mr. Chair. Number one. Number two. I can go on and on, Mr. Chair.
At yun na ano mga kabayan, dahil nga sa nangyaring gulo noong nakaraang linggo sa Misamis Occidental na kung saan nga ay ginapos ang dalawang kamay at mga paa ni Mayor Dumanjog at sinakluban pa ang kanyang muka at inialis sa kanyang opisina sa City Hall ng mga naka-uniformeng mga sundalo at pulisya sa pag-uutos nga daw ni Gov.Oaminal. Ayon nga kay Mayora Dumanjog, anak ni Mayor Dumanjog, talagang warlord nga daw kung ituring itong angkan ni Oaminal sapagkat halos lahat daw ay hawak nito sa liig, mapamilitar, pulisya, pati ang korte sa Misamis Occidental. At dahil nga nabuksan ang mga issue patungkol kay Governor Oaminal, atin niyang maalala na nagkaroon noon ng hearing patungkol nga dito sa lupa sa Osamis naman na pinamumunuan nga rin ni Oaminal kung saan ay idinimolis nila noong panahon ng pandemya na ikinagalit ni Congressman Marcoleta dahil ayon nga sa batas noon, bawal ang pagdedemolis ng kahit anong lugar na tinitirhan ng isang tao o ng pamilya hanggat meron pang pandemya. Ngunit tila bagay walang pake itong si Oaminal, kaya kanyang pinagpatuloy ang nasabing demolisyon. At nang umabot nga dito sa hearing sa Kamara at tila baga pinagtulungan si Congressman Marcoleta nila Governor Oaminal, ang City Administrator ng Osamis at maging si Congressman Veloso. Ngunit hindi nagpatinag si Congressman Marcoleta at sinabi nga niyang kahit buong araw pa silang magdiskusyon sa hearing sa Kamara ay hindi natitigilan itong si Governor Oaminal dahil talagang sagad sa buto ang kasakiman nitong governor na to. Mga kabayan, kung bago ka pa lang sa aking channel, huwag mo kang kalimutang i-hit ang like at subscribe button para updated ka sa mga uploads ko araw-araw. Kabayan, panoorin natin ang kabuuan ng bidyong ito.
In this regard, the city's role was limited to negotiating with the residents, providing them with financial assistance, and a temporary relocation site. The filing also of the expropriation cases against those who rejected the city's offer, the payment of just compensation, and receiving the property either from the residents themselves or from the courts through the sheriff in the course of the expropriation proceedings. Anent the allegations of violations of DILG Memorandum Circular Number 2020-068 and Republic Act 11469 or the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act in the course of implementation of said project, we would like to take this opportunity to put things in its right and proper perspective. It cannot be overemphasized that the DILG circular directs, among other matters, local government units to postpone demolition and eviction activities for the duration of the state of calamity wrought about by the pandemic. The scope of this directive is expressly limited to administrative demolition and eviction activities under Section 28 and A and B of Republic Act 7279 or the Urban Development Housing Act and Section 4S of the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act. Moreover, equally worth stressing is the fact that on April 2020, at the time the DILG circular was issued, the city was under general community quarantine and not the enhanced community quarantine envisioned under the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act. Thus, first, the alleged eviction and demolition activities do not fall under the administrative eviction and demolitions contemplated under UDHA law. The DILG circular applies only to administrative demolitions and evictions as provided under Section 28A and B, particularly Section 28, which refers to government infrastructure projects with available funding. under UDHA, funding for urban development and housing program shall come from the sources listed under Section 42, none of which pertains to funding from the General Appropriations Act, unlike this case. Since the multipurpose building does not fall under Section 28 of UDHA, the DILG circular does not apply. Hence, there cannot be any violation of the DILG circular in this instance. Second, there was no administrative demolition to speak of conducted on the property. On the contrary, the dismantling of the structures in said purok was voluntarily undertaken by the vacating residents themselves, who did not oppose the project. After they dismantled their structures, the DPWH, that is through the contractor, began clearing operations on the vacated portions of the property with the use of heavy equipment. Thereafter, construction of the multipurpose building commenced on the vacated portions. A court-ordered eviction is the result of a court's examination and appreciation of the evidence presented before it. Here, in this case, the courts have already granted applications for writ of possessions against the litigant residents. So, in this case, the city did not order any eviction, if we will relate it to that matter. The directive, if ever, for the writ of possession emanated from the courts. On this score, since the DILG circular does not prescribe an eviction or demolition done pursuant to a court order, as provided under Section 28 of UHDA, then ostensibly, the city did not violate the DILG circular. Third, assuming further, Your Honors, that the alleged eviction and demolition may be classified as an administrative eviction or demolition, there can still be no violation of the DILG circular under the exception of paragraph 5.2 thereof. Paragraph 5.2 of the DILG circular expressly provides that dwellings under Section 28B of the UDHA shall be allowed eviction and demolition, provided the eviction or demolition is crucial in the general objective stipulated in the Bayanihan to Heal as One Act, and that prior to the conduct of eviction and demolition, LGU shall provide interim shelters.
Mr. Sam Norman, how long will the statement end?
Just another 2 minutes, probably.
2 minutes. Okay, please proceed.
Just for the record, Mr. Chair, I think he was given the right to speak only for preliminary statements. He is now trying to defend already the demolition and talking about the legal certainties or legal rules that they are trying to invoke. So I think he should only answer questions. Maybe we can proceed already.
Mr. Sam Norman, to be fair to everybody, I heard the initial statement of DS Marcoleta. He was just giving a preliminary statement and he's not laying down his evidences yet. In contrast to you, you're laying down already the defense. So may I suggest that I think it is more than enough what I've heard. If yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. As in answer to your query, the resource speaker was just asking about 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay.
To complete, and more so, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, that the resource speaker was commenting on the resolution. He was commenting.
Okay, 2 minutes, Mr. Sam Norman. 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay. Yes, Your Honor. Fourth, Your Honor, to reiterate, Your Honor, the city government has not demolished any property, let alone forcefully evicted any property owner for the particular housing project in Purok 6, Laman, Ozami City. As such, it disavows any participation, involvement, and contribution to the conduct of such deplorable acts. It strongly condemns any and all acts of harassment, violence, and abuse inflicted on any resident. In behalf of the leader who is fully committed to restoring the faith of Ozamisnons to peace and order, considering the recent history of the city, we denounce such acts. To date, the city has not yet received any complaints of this nature, the one mentioned under the whereas clauses of the resolution. In fact, what has been brought to our attention is that it were the barangay officials of Laman themselves who were individually subjected to harassment and persecutions that initiated criminal charges against certain defendants. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, there has been no double funding in this project. Contrary to the erroneous and malicious allegation being hurled against Ozami City and its officials, it is what it is, a project of the national government funded to the General Appropriations Act, insofar as the first building is concerned. Being a building cluster, the second building facility, which is within the city, is also funded by the city government of Ozamis. So, in ending, further, Your Honor, we would like to point out that the very subject of the same committee is already lodged with the DILG and in fact would be subject to and had been subject to adjudication. In a sense, adjudication,
Okay.
Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Sam Norman, for your statement. Before we continue, I'd like to acknowledge Senior Vice Chair Remulla, Representative Mike Defensor, DS Bernadette Herrera D, Representative Samantha Vargas, Minority Leader Joseph Stephen Pabduano, Deputy Minority Leader Argel Kabatbat, Representative David J. Suarez, DS Evelina Escudero, Deputy Majority Leader Tyrone Agabas, Deputy Minority Leader Stella Kimbo. There are points of order raised from 3 members. First point of order is from Congressman Rufy Biason. You have the floor, sir.
Mr. Chairman, mine was a parliamentary inquiry, so I yield to the point of order earlier raised by Representative Mike Defensor.
Next on the list is Congressman Veloso. Sir, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. We already heard the witness from Ozamis, yet we have not disposed of sections 2, 6, and 8. My point, Mr. Chair, is we are supposed to have a preliminary determination under section 2 of Rule 4. And in this regard, it is not Deputy Speaker Oaminal who is supposed to be heard, but Deputy Speaker, the author of the resolution, Marcoleta. Under section 2, second paragraph, he is supposed to lay down his charges, his claims, delineate and simplify the issues before we are supposed to hear any of our resource persons, Mr. Chair. May I inquire if we are going to hear first from Honorable Marcoleta before we can go to section 10 or sections 8 and 10 of Rule 4 of our rules.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Veloso. The sponsor, Deputy Speaker Marcoleta, assured me that he has evidence and he will lay it down through successive questions to our resource persons. That is the next on the agenda, and after all persons are heard, then we can make a preliminary determination of this resolution if it has merit. So we are not yet in the thick of the presentation of evidence, sir. Did I answer your parliamentary inquiry, sir?
It is, no, Mr. Chair, with due respect, uh, Honorable Marcoleta has to lay down first his charges before we hear from the resource persons. Under our rules,
Yes, yes, sir.
Mr.
He
Chair.
has promised. Yes, sir. Yes, you are acknowledged. You are
In order to
recognized.
appease Congressman Veloso, I will lay down the premises. First, this hearing was called simply because this representation would like to know why a project funded by the national government through expropriation, which did not follow certain processes, was built on a private land. One of the components of this housing project, Mr. Chair, was even built on a public land, which is an inalienable part of the patrimonial domain of this country. I'd like to ask whether or not the expropriation process followed the legal procedures. For example, did the city government went through the Office of the Solicitor General or the OGCC based on the provisions of Republic Act 10752? Also, did the local government know that under Republic Act 7279, parcels of land belonging to small landowners are exempted from expropriation, and that expropriation can only be resorted to after exhausting other modes of land acquisition, namely land banking, land swapping, land negotiation, donation to government, community mortgage, etc., etc. The last resort, Mr. Chair, is expropriation if the other modes of acquisition have been exhausted. And then, finally, the law says that if you resort to expropriation, parcels of land belonging to small lot owners are exempted. And so, there are so many things, Mr. Chair. Number one. Number two.
I think.
I can go on and on, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Let's first resolve the standing point of order from Congress. I will yield the floor to you in the interpellation phase.
At hanggang dito na lang no mga kabayan, at huwag mo kang kalimutang i-hit ang like at subscribe button para updated ka sa mga uploads ko araw-araw. Hanggang sa muli, paalam!
Iba rin ang tayog ng ulan. Gusto kong sisirin ang lalim ng dagat. Gusto kong akyatin ang tuktok ng bundok. Tuklasin ang hiwagang sa puso ko'y bumabalo.